More areas are now under tropical cyclone wind signal number 4 as Typhoon Tino slightly intensifies on Monday, November 3. In its 5 p.m. bulletin, Pagasa says Tino's location was estimated 170 kilometers east-southeast of Giwan, eastern Samar. It carries maximum sustained winds of 130 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 160 kilometers per hour. Signal number 4 is raised over several parts of Visayas and Mindanao, where typhoon force winds may bring a significant to severe threat to life and property. Signal number 3 is hoisted over 10 other areas in Visayas and Mindanao, where storm force winds may bring moderate to significant impacts. Signal number 2 is up over 20 areas across the country, which face minor to moderate impacts due to gale force winds. Meanwhile, 20 other areas in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao are under signal number 1, where strong winds are expected to bring minimal to minor threat to life and property. According to Pag-asa, Tino is forecast to make landfall or pass very close to Humonhon Island or Dinagat Islands Monday evening or early Tuesday morning, November 4. The State Weather Bureau forecasts Tino to make initial landfall at or near its peak intensity as rapid intensification remains likely. Tino is then expected to make landfall over Leyte or southern Leyte by early Tuesday morning. The agency then forecasts Tino to cross Visayas and northern Palawan throughout Tuesday and Wednesday early morning, November 5. Pag-asa says the typhoon will likely emerge over the West Philippine Sea by Wednesday morning or afternoon. Tino is expected to exit the Philippine Area of Responsibility by Thursday morning, November 6. The Department of Justice says it served subpoenas to the respondents in the 5 alleged ghost flood control projects in Bulacan. In an interview with reporters on Monday, November 3, Acting Justice Secretary Frederick Vida says more cases will be filed soon.
Some of the subpoenas have been personally served, no? Yung initial na 5 cases, no? Wherein the DOJ has been deputized by the Office of the Ombudsman, di ba? That process will start. So identified na yung mga respondents doon. Identified na rin yung charges, no? And soon there will be more, no? I'm sure the Office of the Ombudsman is doing double time, no? Not only double time, triple time, no? To address these concerns.
According to Prosecutor General Richard Fadulyon, the preliminary investigation of the 5 cases is scheduled on November 10. Fadulyon previously disclosed that the respondents in these cases include former Department of Public Works and Highways officials Henry Alcantara, Bryce Hernandez, and JP Mendoza. He said the 5 initial cases focus on the participation of Bulacan's 1st District Engineering Office. He added that the first set of cases also involved a contractor who lent their license to secure a certain flood control projects. In October, the DOJ initially turned over the 5 cases involving malversation, falsification by public officers, perjury, and violation of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices to the Office of the Ombudsman for assessment and review. However, Ombudsman Boying Remulla returned the cases to the DOJ to avoid repetition of processes. DOJ spokesperson Paulo Martinez earlier said the agency was working on a 1-month period to wrap up its preliminary investigation that will determine if there are sufficient grounds to file the cases in court. Amid public outcry seeking accountability through immediate filing of cases in court, Vida appeals for patience. He says that the DOJ is evaluating the cases cautiously to ensure that the rule of law and due process are observed.
At hindi po tayo dapat mawawaglit sa rule of law. Kasi pag nag-shortcut ho tayo, dan ho tayo magkakawindang-windang bilang isang bansa. Diba? Ang panawagan ho talaga dito is sundin natin ang proseso. Gaano man ho kabagal, umiikot po ang proseso. Pero pinipilit po nating pagalawin ng tama para po yung inaasam ng ating mga kababayan ay makamit at maasam ng lahat.
The Criminal Investigation and Detection Group says charges were filed against at least 97 individuals over violent incidents during the September 21 anti-corruption rallies. In a press briefing on Monday, November 3, CIDG Director Major General Robert Alexander Morico says charges were filed before the Department of Justice last Tuesday, October 28. He says the cases were for violations of the revised penal code, particularly articles pertaining to conspiracy and proposal to commit rebellion or insurrection, sedition, and inciting to sedition. The CIDG director says respondents are the alleged instigators, including those who funded and planned the incidents. However, Morico on October 30 said the CIDG is filing charges against 40 persons. As to clarify, Philippine National Police Public Information Chief Brigadier General Randolph Tuanyo says the cases against the 97 individuals are apart from possible cases against the 40 persons. Tuanyo says this is just the first batch of cases, while those who have been issued a subpoena are included in the next batch. The CIDG has consistently declined to identify the supposed respondents, but at least 6 individuals have either identified themselves online or have been identified through copies of the subpoenas. These include student leaders such as UP Diliman University Student Council Chairperson Joaquin Buenaflor, as well as PUP Student Council President Tiffany Brillante. The 2 student leaders have called on the CIDG to steer their investigation towards those accountable for corruption instead of targeting youth leaders and ordinary citizens. Buenaflor, Brillante, and others identified in subpoenas have denied involvement in the September 21 riots. Local oil prices will surge in the first week of November, with diesel prices making the biggest jump of almost 3 pesos per liter. In an advisory on Monday, November 3, a local oil firm says diesel prices will increase by 2 pesos and 70 centavos per liter. Gasoline prices will go up by 1 peso and 70 centavos per liter, while kerosene prices will also rise by 2 pesos and 10 centavos per liter. Price adjustments will take effect on Tuesday, November 4. This marks the 5th straight week of price hikes for gasoline and the 2nd for both diesel and kerosene. Last week, Jeti Petroleum President Leo Bellas said new U.S. sanctions against 2 Russian oil producers introduced significant compliance risks and uncertainty into the market. He said concerns that output will tighten globally due to the sanctions resulted in higher diesel and gasoline prices outside of crude movements. Eala breaks through the Women's Tennis Association Top 50 to end her season. Eala achieved a new career-high world ranking of number 50 on Monday, November 3, following a historic year. She eclipsed her previous high at 51 despite a round of 16 loss to Canadian Victoria Mboko 3-6, 6-3, 6-4 in the Hong Kong Open on Thursday, October 30. The 20-year-old Eala was at number 140 before her dream semifinal run at the Miami Open. That run catapulted her to the top 75, making her an automatic participant in the Grand Slam main draws. Eala delivered the Philippines' first ever US Open main draw win when she took down Clara Towson in the first round and captured her first WTA title in the Guadalajara 125 Open. The Filipino tennis ace is currently taking a break in the Philippines as she seeks to compete in the 33rd Southeast Asian Games in Thailand in December.